Hello everyone.
Hello, friends.
This is week number 6, lecture number 1.
This is about post death psychological support. And let me remind you that this particular subject is being taught only in palliative care. No other medicinal stream of medical field is talking about it. Rather, it is not bothering about this particular. When a patient dies, that's the end of it. They write death certificate and the patient goes away to his home in the ambulance. The matter ends there. The file of that patient closes down and goes into the documentation department in the storage, but not with palliative care. In palliative care, even if a patient dies, we remain with them. We carry out bereavement and grief support. If they require, we give them social or economic support. So that is how we are talking about post death psychological support in palliative care.
So, in week 6, the first lecture is ethical aspects of palliative care. Um, when we do our medicine, we are taught medical ethics and how to implement these medical ethics in practice. Whenever you are practicing palliative care, that has been narrated in this lecture, and many of your doubts about the withholding and withholding the life support, withdrawing the life support, and do's and don'ts about the medical ethics has been cleared in this lecture.
Impact of bereavement. Let's understand two words first: bereavement and grief. What's the difference between bereavement and grief? Think over. Bereavement is a process of adjusting. Bereavement is a process of adjusting to death of a loved one. In Hindi, we call it Viyog, shock. And grief is basically normal psychological
Reaction.
reaction to death, or it can be any other major loss. Grief can be any, it is there definitely when someone is very close in our family dies, there is grief. But when you lose your job, when your house gets destroyed either in earthquake or by rioters or by flood or anything, again there is grief. So grief is basically psychological reaction to a major loss, whereas bereavement is a process of adjusting to the death. How you do adjust over a particular period of time.
Second lecture is on Kubler-Ross model, which describes about the grief and bereavement in caregiver.
She has given a role model, it is called DABDA, DABDA. D means denial. Firstly, you deny that though this hasn't happened to me, I am not under any grief, I am fine. Then slowly and slowly anger builds up. Go, why this has happened? Why my father died? Why he died? Why this has happened? So you start expressing anger, and then you start bargaining, and then depression sets in, and finally you accept the situation. Starts with denial first, but finally in the final stage you accept what has come to you, because after all this is the part of life. Birth and death, that's a part of life. Nobody has got the control over it.
Another lecture is on theoretical models of grief and bereavement.
Number of models have been given out in this particular, again basically the same thing. It starts with denial and then later on it ends with acceptance. If there is no acceptance, then finally that person goes into depressions and in other psychological disorders. But mostly most of the human beings come back to the realities of the life and starts, like what we say, show must go on. So they accept it as such.
It Another lecture also describes the psychology of grief and bereavement, and Dr. Yashwant Joshi has narrated very well in this lecture.
Uh, Again, certain things will be talked to you later on because we do not want to tell you everything about it. But we come to the next, managing grief and bereavement, and two more issues I want to tell you. Firstly, what is good death? Can you tell me what is good death? Because
Yeah.
here we are talking about death.
Everybody has get their own idea about the good life, but we have sometimes, most of us has never thought about death. But if you ask somebody what type of death you want, then that person will start thinking about it. And most of the people has come up, there was one study taken up by Cipla Palliative Care Center in Pune, and they went to people and asked what type of death they want. So most of the people answered they want to die at home, they want to die painless, and they want to die in presence of their loved one.
So I can say that any death that is free from avoidable distress and suffering, that is called a good death. It may be in hospital, maybe in home also, but the patient should not suffer so much. I personally feel, as per our cultural system, what we follow in our country, we always prefer to die at home, surrounded by our family members.
So at the end of week 6, what is the theme?
The theme is because our presence is very important to the people who are dying, whole family together. So the theme is basically be with them, be with them, and
Be with them. That is
and
the theme
that's
of
a
week
theme, and
6.
that will give peace of mind to the departed soul. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
friends.